The accused New York bomber's past includes a domestic dispute. And as our own Catherine Herridge just reported moments ago here on Shepard Smith Reporting, it was just 2 years ago, not a long time ago. According to the DailyMail.com, police in 2014 arrested Ahmad Khan Rahami for stabbing somebody in the leg and for illegally possessing a gun. But a grand jury cleared him, even though an officer said the suspect was likely a danger to himself or others. We reported earlier, Rahimi's father today told reporters his son had stabbed one of his brothers. Candace Trunzo is the senior news editor of the DailyMail.com, and you guys are scooping up all this information and doing what I called earlier a deep dive. What are you finding?
We are indeed. We did find that in 2014 he was arrested for stabbing his brother. His brother was stabbed in his left leg. He was arrested for that. He had possession of a weapon. He was arrested for that too. The policeman who arrested him told the grand jury that he was a danger, not only to himself, but to others.
So it was the arresting officer who said that?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And in the end, the grand jury let him go, which was incredible.
Do we know why?
We don't know why. We don't know why. They just felt
maybe
that there wasn't enough evidence,
okay,
probably to really, put him away.
In your reporting, Candace, are you able to talk with any of these people that are along what our own Catherine Herridge called a bad timeline of red flags? I mean, there were a lot of things, but as you kind of step back, it seems like a lot. I don't know if you're up close, maybe not. But what are people telling you close to it?
Well, our sources are saying that there were all the signs that when he traveled to Pakistan, when he traveled to Afghanistan, that he was radicalized there. And in fact, DailyMail.com has a photograph of him today from 2013. He is sitting with his brother in Pakistan. He's wearing traditional robes. He's wearing a skull cap, a scarf around his neck. I mean, these were things that people might have noticed, people who were here.
So that traditional garb might not have over there triggered the mind to think, okay, this is radicalization. But if you're looking at it through the prism of he left home in a T-shirt and jeans.
That's right. That's right. So that was really around 2012, 2013, 2014. These were the times that our sources were noticing changes in him and believe that it's when he was in Pakistan that he was radicalized and influenced by his brother Muhammad and his sister as well.
You know, one of the questions I've had all along as we continue to have to do these stories, because it's happening over and over, is when people see red flags. We know with the Orlando shooter that people saw red flags early as high school.
That's right. That's right.
The problem is, do they feel like the infrastructure is there with authorities and reporting for them to have somebody to go to? You know, the dad went to the FBI.
Exactly.
But for the average person, are you hearing from your sources that they felt like there was somebody to tell that could put it all together?
Right. I think that people were not noticing enough. And really, it's his father who noticed more than anybody and went to the FBI. But they found that there was really nothing that pointed to any kind of action, any kind of act, horrific act, as what happened last weekend.
All right. So a lot of times, and we're seeing this too with the young man in Minnesota and the shopping mall stabbings that police say he carried out, that he was, quote, such a nice, normal American kid. Yes. What are they saying about him?
Well, I mean, they're saying kind of the same thing, that he was, he was at this chicken, America First fried chicken store that his family owned.
Okay.
And that he was a very gregarious guy. He was nice. He talked about cars. He was really into fast cars. And some of his neighbors said they would come in and they would get free chicken. So there was nothing about him
that he was
overtly
friendly in that sense.
He was, that he had been radicalized or was, was going to do something so horrific.
I would never want to suggest it, even go down a road of your sources, but I am curious to know, outside the father, if there are other family members who have spoken on the record.
No family members yet.
Okay. All right. And I understand that they are getting ready now to bring in an FBI statement, so you guys tell me when that's ready. As you look down that bad timeline, as Catherine Herridge has pointed out, you touched on some of those issues, and one of them was that domestic dispute. Right? That stabbing. And also in his past, though, that I'm learning, you know, that he had problems, his family had problems with the police department. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, certainly. Apparently the chicken restaurant, or the chicken, store, had problems. People congregated there. They were noisy. The place was open very late, all night, in fact. Neighbors, residential and commercial neighbors, were unhappy about it, and they reported to police. Police gave them a hard time, came in, and then the family accused the police, accused the Elizabeth, the town of,
Elizabeth, New Jersey?
Yeah, Elizabeth, New Jersey, of discrimination because they were Muslim. So in the end, they came to some agreement about it, but there was a lot of contentious.
That's interesting.
So
you have that in the history of the family, and then you have a dad who goes to the FBI about his own son. I mean, there were just points of what I would call points of interest along that bad timeline. All right, now we are just getting in this statement by the FBI. It says, in quote, and this is about the 2014 Rahami assessment and why they didn't interview. In August 2014, the FBI initiated an assessment of Rahami based on comments made by his father after a domestic dispute that were subsequently reported to authorities. The FBI conducted internal database reviews, intra-agency checks, and multiple interviews, none of which revealed ties to terrorism. So they're not necessarily looking at it from the point of view, am I putting these dots in a line and keeping track? I don't know, perhaps, but they're looking for the end result of terrorism that hadn't happened supposedly until this past weekend.
That's right. But at the same time, he was taking trips to Afghanistan, taking trips to Pakistan. I don't know how
Do we know as late as?
As late as 2014, for sure. So, they didn't go back. They didn't go back, and now they're doing a little damage control, I would say. So,
for the reason of familial ties in the region where he was traveling, Pakistan, Afghanistan, they figured that the trips were okay, that they were in bounds. The question I would have, Candace, and we can't answer this today because it's something that the FBI is going to have to tell us. Do they change that? Because wouldn't you think that a lot of people would go back to their home country because they have family there?
Yes, yes.
Or they just happen to have family there.
And I think that's what they assumed about Afghanistan. Pakistan probably is another matter. And if they had looked into his siblings, there were signs there that his sister and his brother Muhammad had some, very radical views.
Interesting. So there's more to read with the Daily Mail.
Yes,
Thank you, Candace. We'll be right back.